My name is Jerome Berg. I'm the founder of the Google Littrips project that provides free educational reading resources to teachers and their students. And you know the story. Education is making headlines based primarily upon standardized testing in reading and math. I'm a reading guy, having taught high school English for 38 years. Next. Until recently, reading instruction looked like this. That was 2 clicks. Can you? You've already gone ahead 1 slide, I guess. Until recently, reading instruction looked like this. In the United States, students who cannot read are considered to be among the very highest of educational priorities, to the tune of nearly $5 billion. Students who can read are considered ready to learn and have, for the most part, been perceived as needing few, if any, special concerns. Click. That $5 billion allocated to teaching the basic skills of being able to take meaning from text has paid off. In 2008, 99.7% of all U.S. adults had those skills, the vast majority of whom became literate by the time they graduated from high school. Yet a National Endowment for the Arts study, also published in 2008, click, suggests that although nearly 100% of the school's high school graduates can read, nearly half of the 18 to 24-year-olds, including those who go to college, are unlikely to choose to read any fiction once they are no longer required to do so. Click. And when 18 to 24-year-olds who graduate from high school but do not go on to college are considered, over 60%, 17.5 million students, cannot claim to have read as much as a single poem, short story, novel, or play in the preceding 12 months. Studies indicate that they're unlikely to do so over the course of the following years. They can read, but they're not buying what we're selling. Next. So what exactly are Littrips? Sorry. The essence is tracking of the character's travels from great literature on the surface of Google Earth. I call them read-along, write-alongs. They're not cliff notes telling students what they should have learned, but rather a radical change in the reading experience that puts readers in the middle of the story as though they were virtual fellow travelers. Google Earth's geospatial context creates a real-world bridge connecting the story's geographical location, history, and cultural traditions to those of the students' own experiences. Readers become emotionally engaged when the trials and tribulation of their fictional traveling companions, building deeper understanding of the perspectives and cultures of people from places, times, and cultures beyond their own. And as they virtually walk in the shoes of others, they discover the importance of being thoughtful, mature, and responsible 21st century global citizens. Next. But I'm not guessing about what can be accomplished with Google Littrips sources. The Google Littrips project has been praised and promoted extensively by the National Council for Teachers of English, the American Association of School Librarians, the American Library Association, National Steinbeck Center, and even the Library of Congress. It's received International Society for Technology and Education, Public Radio International, National Geographic, and Canadian Geographic attention. It was given the 2008 Goldman Sachs Foundation Prize for Excellence in International Education, and I was selected as a 2010 laureate recipient of the Microsoft Award for Education Award for Technology Benefiting Humanities. And just yesterday, the well-respected eSchool News blog placed Google Littrips at the #3 spot on their list of 10 of the best virtual field trips for education. Next. In fact, the Google Littrip project has been recognized in over 24 scholarly books, journals, and articles as an exemplary model of forward-thinking educational resource, not only for reading education, but also for the 21st century educational reform movement. Click. And click. During my own teaching career, I was able to teach nearly 7,000 students. When the Google Littrips concept came to me a year or so before I was to retire, I decided that I'd dedicate a portion of my retirement time to what I called my poor man's philanthropy. I never imagined the reach the project would achieve. Yet I found myself with a project with what might be called darn solid proof of concept. Over 1.6 million people from 143 countries have visited the website. I've been featured speaker at educational conferences in 17 states, as well as in Ireland, England, Canada, and even China. I've co-written a book entitled Book Mapping, Lit Trips and Beyond, published by the International Society for Technology in Education, and I've had the honor of working directly with authors, several prestigious organizations, and with teachers and indirectly with their students from around the globe. Next. Can I just get 3 more clicks so that I don't, there you go, and 1 more. The Google Littrip development process relies entirely upon volunteer developers. Besides myself, other developers include the teacher beneficiaries themselves and their students. All Google Littrips go through an editorial review process prior to publication to assure quality standards for pedagogical content, effective technology use, and other issues such as copyright compliance. Both direct and indirect marketing targets K-12 teachers, kindergarten through 12th grade teachers, administrators, and other education stakeholders. Direct marketing is via face-to-face conference presentation and workshops supplemented by extensive outreach through social media and the Google Littrips newsletter. Indirect marketing, which I refer to as the buzz, comes from numerous college professors, particularly those involved in teacher preparations, who use Google Littrips as a case study in their courses. Dozens of regional, state, national, and even international presenters making conference presentations every year, and thousands of bloggers sharing the project's merit with their readership. And of course, from the authors and professional organizations mentioned earlier who share the value adds that Google Littrips bring to their various audiences. The primary beneficiary impact is the unique empowerment support provided to tens of thousands of teachers who then pass on those benefits in better teaching to hundreds of thousands of students who benefit by perceiving the real-world relevance of lifelong reading. The income and expenses listed here represent a pending radical shift as the project addresses the challenges and obstacles associated with scaling demands. Click. And now, if you wouldn't mind just clicking 5 times so that we can speed through this. It has become essential that the project become 501c3 nonprofit in order to maximize contributed income. Because the project relies heavily upon media used on the condition that it not be used for commercial purposes, the project must rely on contributed income rather than upon earned income. Existing development, delivery, and user support systems have relied heavily upon free and low-cost resources that are no longer capable of supporting the established market demands or scalability without a dramatic investment in upgrading those systems. In addition to expenses associated with retooling, additional expenses associated with the strict business requirements of a nonprofit must be addressed, and because existing funding is only sufficient to maintain projects' existing demand, expenses associated with retooling efforts will need to be generated ahead of the current income streams. Next. Thank you. Oops. Thank you. Perhaps the greatest funding barrier is the use of the word Google itself in the project name. Though approved by Google and promoted by Google, the project is not technically financially supported by Google. I've already spoken of the challenges associated with transitioning from what has essentially been little more than an incredibly successful extended pilot phase to an organization designed for scalability. Another challenge is the general perception that reading fiction provides little career skill value. Fortunately, recent advances in neurosciences and in business thinking are suggesting that there are plenty of benefits in the workplace and many underappreciated benefits in the non-workplace related areas of life, such as one's social responsibilities to family, neighbors, and communities. Nor is reading fiction perceived as being a critical need in the same league as addressing hunger and health issues. An education reform policy heavily influenced by political expediency and superficially or ill-informed publics seeking quick and cheap fixes often leads to simplistic attempts to address complex issues. And finally, there is not even consensus regarding best practice for all learners, even among leading voices of educational reform. Click. Why don't we do 2 clicks? Thank you. So, although the project has existed for some time and has achieved incredible success, it has been operating sort of casually. I've been treating it as though it were a nonprofit. I don't take any income at all from the process, and I have an informal advisory board that I don't really assign any tasks to, and they're all recognized pedagogical experts. And as far as management's concerned, I'm it. I founded it. I volunteer my services, and I pretty much do 100% of the work it takes to develop market research and support the project. I have no staffing, and the only costs I have in that regard are just very minimal costs for a little bit of paid contract work, for example, the bookkeeper and the record keeper. And essentially, the project's success comes from its own beneficiaries. They volunteer to not only receive benefit, but to then turn around and develop resources and contribute them to the project to share those with the increasingly growing marketplace. However, that doesn't work once the demand is so high that I can't do it by myself, and that I need more than an advisory board of pedagogical experts. And
hey, Jerome.
Yes.
Your 12 minutes are up. Can you summarize pretty quickly what's
gosh.
left?
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, in this slide, what I'm telling you is I can reach 90,000 teachers and 1.3 million students in the first year, and add to that 30,000 and 40,000 in the subsequent years, meaning that I think in 3 years I can reach 90,000 teachers and 6 million students. And the entire market is about 1 million plus or minus U.S. teachers who teach reading. So I can radically increase where I've been, and there's much room beyond that for extended growth. And in the next slide, I think I show, can I get the next slide to show?
Yeah, you're on the metrics dashboard. Okay.
Uh-oh.
And anything beyond that?
Turn me off at 12 minutes.
Okay.
Well, what I need to do is take it to the business level. Take it out of the informal phase, formal phase, grow it and support it with expertise. And so I have on the last slide just a basic list of how I see it happen. That's my financials right there. It's all speculation, but it's based on the incredible trajectory that I've reached with very limited support, and then moving towards a larger organization with a vastly greater reach. I'm predicting that I can make the transition in the first year for around $83,000, and then move to $150,000 in the second year, and the third year really is complete speculation. I don't know. I came up with numbers that said $187,000 based on some research, but it could be that the project has grown so much that that's too little.